Okay, where should we go and look? He could be in the big hospital room. He could be in the hallway with all the rooms. He could be in the first class cabin. I'll go into the first class cabin. What about the first class cabin on B deck? Alright, sounds good. They took up the stairs at a run. Outside the first class cabin they found Clover. She was standing in front of the wall. She was staring at a meaningless point in the wall, her eyes blank. What should Junpei do? Talk to her or leave her alone? Talk to her or leave her alone? Talk to her or leave her alone? Are you alright? He did his best to sound friendly, but Clover didn't respond. Look, I know you're really worried, but he could think of no words to say that didn't sound hollow and fake. Junpei hesitated. Clover was so consumed by worry. Curse you! Clover was so consumed by worry and fear that Junpei feared it would crush her. Her actions didn't surprise him. She had suddenly lost her brother, who she seemed to have been very close to. Alone. Her voice was thin, barely audible. Alone. Huh? Alone. Huh? I said, leave me alone! Oh, I hate small children. Suddenly she was screaming. It's so annoying. Just go away and leave me alone. Just looking at you guys is pissing me off. Go away, okay? Just go somewhere else. Stop bothering me. Junpei was taken aback. Such anger and hate. Jun's eyes had gone wide with surprise as well. Why are you still here? Didn't you hear me? Fine, forget it. If you aren't gonna leave, then I'll just... Alright? Let's go, Jun. Yeah. What a bitch! They turned and left Clover. And as they did, Junpei glanced back over his shoulder to see Clover wiping tears from her face. Clover had driven home the misery of their situation, but Junpei told himself that getting depressed would get him nowhere but depressed. For Clover's sake, they had to find Snake, and fast. He did his best to push away the misery and depression and force a smile. So, where do you think we should go next? Let's head back to the large hospital room. Alright. That's probably the best idea. Together they ran down the stairs. On the way to the large hospital room, Junpei and Jun noticed Santa standing next to number 3 door. Junpei paused. What should Junpei do? Jun and Junpei walked up to Santa. What are you doing? Can't you tell? I'm checking out the red. Why, is there something bothering you? Pause for a drink. What? It's not bothering you? Huh? The guts of the red. Why wouldn't you wonder who the hell put it back in here? Yeah, that's true. But I'm curious too, but who do you think did it? Santa's eyes narrowed as he looked at Jun. She shook her head. I don't know. Well, what about you, Junpei? Who do you think fixed this thing for us? I think it was probably Zero. Why? Isn't that obvious? He's the guy who set this whole thing up. You don't think that should mean the opposite? Seems to me like that means he didn't do it. I mean, who do you think took that stuff out in the first place? Probably Zero. Yeah, exactly. Then why the hell would he put them back in after he'd taken them out himself? 'Cause we're playing a game, you shit fuck. If he set out rules and expects us to follow them, then he's got to follow his own rules, surely. Otherwise it's not fun. Think like a gambler, man. Just doesn't make sense. Why do all that work? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So, what happened then? Who put the stuff back in the reds? Junpei furrowed his brow. So, in other words, one of us is the person who fixed the red. Santa grinned. Bingo! We have a winner. But if that's true, then the person who did that doesn't want the rest of us to know. They fixed the red. Yeah. But why? No idea. Maybe if they come clean on that, it means we find out something else. Something bad. Something bad? Dunno. But whatever it is, it's gotta be worth hiding. Of course. It could have something to do with Snake's disappearance. You think maybe they did something to Snake? It's not out of the question. Junpei stared at Santa. There was something about him that made Junpei wary. At first he'd assumed the other man wasn't terribly clever, but Junpei was beginning to think he would need to re-evaluate that assessment. When Santa spoke again, his voice was quiet. Look, if you trust anybody in this game, you're gonna lose. You've got to be careful. The person you trust the most could turn out to be the one who stabbed you in the back. With that depressing suggestion, he turned and quietly walked away. Junpei and June looked at each other and smiled awkwardly. Where should they go next? I can go back to the first class cabin. They quickened their pace and headed for B deck. Clover still there? Hello? No one was there. Junpei figured they might have more luck somewhere else. But where? Hallway with all the rooms. Why don't we go back to the C deck? We take a look at that hallway with all the rooms. Okay. Together they ran down the stairs. Ahead of them, further down the hallway, they spotted Ace. Hey, Snake! Where are you? Snake? Snake! Answer me if you're there. Junpei paused. What did he want to do? Run to Ace! With June in tow, Junpei jogged up to Ace. Hearing their footsteps, he turned to greet them. Ah, hello there. Snake is, well, that's obvious, isn't it? I assume you haven't found him yet either. Junpei nodded. I really wonder where he could have gone. Well, wherever he's disappeared to, we must find him quickly as we can. For Clover's sake. For Clover's sake. Right. June's face looked kinda enraptured. By the way, do you think Clover and Snake are really siblings? Ah. Why would you say that? Why would you say that? The question seemed somehow odd to Junpei. Well, it's obvious, isn't it? They don't look alike at all. Ace looked at him for a moment and then spoke. Yes, you know, now that you mention it, they don't. Now that you mention it? Still, there's a great many siblings who do not look like one another. It certainly isn't rare. Junpei wasn't sure why, or even if he was seeing what he thought... or even if he was seeing what he thought he was. But he could have sworn that Ace's face tightened as he spoke. At any rate, we really must find Snake as soon as possible. The clock is ticking. We really can't afford to waste any more time. Very well, let's get back to the search, shall we? You can leave this area to me. Alright. Let's go, Jumpy. At June's urging, they left. They found themselves back at the stairs, but Junpei's mind was in turmoil. There was so much to think about, but... no, it would have to be put aside for now. As Ace had said, finding Snake was their top priority. Junpei did his best to clear his mind. Alright, where should we go next? Well, there's only one place I haven't been. Let's take a look around the casino. Okay, let's go. They turned around and headed towards B deck. Before they knew it, they were there. So was Lotus. She was leaning against the wall, examining her nails. Hey, what do you think you're doing? She glanced up at him, unimpressed. Isn't it obvious? I'm looking for Snake. Is he hiding under your fingernails? 'Cause that's quite impressive. I mean, if your fingernails were a box, I'd expect it, but no? I'm just not seeing it. Really? Maybe you need to look harder. Oh, I want to kill you so badly. Junpei didn't think that was the problem. Oh, by the way, I've got a proposal for you two. Care to hear it? Oh, fuck it, go on, speak, woman. What is it? Well, I don't like to beat around the bush, so I'll get right to it. Why don't we team up? Huh? Yeah. What? You need me to explain it to you? I'm saying, why don't we go through a numbered door? Even if we wanted to, that's impossible. Why? Jumpy's bracelet number is 5 and mine is 6 and yours is 8. Our digital route would be 1. Do the maths. There's no number 1 door in the large hospital room. The only doors there are 3, 7 and 8. Then we add another person. Huh? Who? Isn't that easy? 7. She was right, if they added 7, their digital route would become 8. And the 4 of them could go through the number 8 door. But... whoa, hold on a sec. What about the other 4? Why don't you add them up? That was simple enough. Their digital route was 1. The digital route for those 4 would be 1. That's right. And you know the number 1 door isn't in that big hospital room, right? Of course I know that. Are you saying you'd leave them behind? Of course not. What kind of woman do you think I am? Once we get off the ship, we could come back and rescue them, couldn't we? We wouldn't really be leaving them behind. Don't try to lie to us. I don't think you do anything of the sort. Really? Why do you think that? Make the law in your own time! You remember, don't you? We have less than 5 hours left. Even if we manage to escape, there's no way we could come back and rescue them in less than 5 hours. Well, you never know until you try. No. You're not thinking this through. Even if we brought 7 with us, we wouldn't be able to get off the ship. The 4 of us couldn't open door 9. It is hidden but an exit can be found. Seek a way out. Seek a door that carries a 9. Yeah? Yeah, that's right. The digital route for us 4 would be 8, so we'd have to add Ace to make 9. Right. Unless we bring Ace too, we'll be stuck. Though just scratch the back of her ear. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. She didn't sound particularly bothered by what Junpei said. Nor did she seem particularly surprised. Let's try and find another way, okay? A way to get out of here with all 8 of us. That's impossible. Are you being serious? You do know that only 5 people at most can go through one of the numbered doors, right? Number 9 isn't going to be an exception to that rule. Regardless, at least 3 people will be left behind. Well, no, because we could just go through that door again, in 2 groups, if both digital routes equal 9. Are you thick? Are you really stupid? Are your brains all in your breasts? Because it's beginning to look like that. You're right. That is true. The moment he said it, Junpei felt a chill run down his spine. It was true. How Lotus could remain so cavalier about so terrifying a prospect was beyond him. When they found number 9, they would have to choose which 3 of them would die. Lotus's forehead furrowed. Do you think I could have a moment alone? There's some things I need to think about. Okay, wench. Junpei and June turned and began walking away from Lotus. Talking to her left them feeling ill. Junpei's heart felt heavy and his steps sluggish. But he told himself pessimism would get them nowhere. So he forced himself to smile and turned to June. Let's just focus on finding Snake for now, okay? Yes, you're right. We can think about those other things later. Junpei nodded. Alright, where should we go next? I've looked everywhere. Why don't we go back to the big hospital room? Sure. Let's go. They took off at a run down the stairs. There was no one to be seen. What next? Oh no. They looked everywhere they could think of, but Snake was nowhere to be found. Lotus looked around the 6 frustrated faces and spoke. "We can't keep looking for Snake. Wherever he is, he's not here. We need to get moving." Shinbei couldn't disagree with what she was saying. Snake seemed to have completely disappeared. There was no point in wasting any more time. The others seemed to be having similar thoughts, but they stayed silent. Finally, Seven spoke. "We don't got a choice. Lotus is right. We're not going to find Snake. There's a problem, though. We've got to figure out who's going to go through which door." "Yes, I have a proposal." She walked back and forth across the floor, her heels clicking against the wood. Finally, she stopped. "Why don't we decide on one person to sacrifice?" Sacrifice? Well, perhaps that's a bit of a harsh word, but yes. You've all figured it out by now, haven't you? We can't all make it through those doors. If we split up into 2 teams of 4 and 3 people respectively, then 3 people will be left behind. If we split up into 2 teams of 5 and 2 people respectively, then 2 people will be left behind. But if we split into 2 groups of 3 and leave 1 person out, then only 1 person will be left behind. Leaving behind 3 people with 2 teams of 4 and 3. Junpei wasn't quite sure that was true. Wait a minute. 2 people get left behind if we split into 5 and 2. And 1 person is left behind if we split into 3, 3 and 1. I got that part. You can't conquer through the number doors with any less than 3 people. But if we split into 4 and 3, then why do 3 people have to be left behind? Just run the numbers. Let's say we go through door 7 with 1, 4, 5 and 6. Who's left over? That would be 3, 7, 8. What's the digital root for that? 9. Exactly. But door 9 isn't here, right? Means that those 3 won't be going anywhere. It's just an example, of course. There are a lot of different combinations, but the result is always the same. Doesn't matter which 4 it is. The 3 that are left can't go through any of the doors. Go ahead and calculate it if you have time. You'll see. Anyway, that's how it is. Now, if we can get back to my proposal, we only have to sacrifice 1 person if we split into 3, 3 and 1. When Seven spoke, his voice was strained. "Then you're saying we've got to decide who's going to stay behind?" "Yes, we do. Given our circumstances, it's logically and morally the best solution. If the other 6 are to survive, then 1 person has to sacrifice themselves." "Oh, that's too cruel." "What's so cruel about it? To just sacrifice someone like that." "Then what's your plan?" "Maybe we should sacrifice 2 people instead of just 1. "That's not what I meant. We shouldn't sacrifice anyone." "I told you that's impossible. Wake up." Whoa, 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 calm down, you 2. Santa stepped between Lotus and June. "Look, what Lotus is trying to say is that you should aim to bring the greatest amount of happiness to the greatest amount of people, right?" "Exactly. That's how democracy works. And for that reason, I think it's only fair way to decide who'll be sacrificed is through a vote." "I'm so voting for you, bitch!" "What do you think?" "No, that's terrible!" "I'm not asking you." "Shut up." "What about you, Santa?" "Me? Well, I agree, I guess." "Alright, that's 1 vote for. Counting mine, that's 2. 7. "I can't say I agree with you, but we don't exactly have a choice. If we don't do something, we're all going to die." "That's you get it. If I get 1 more vote, it's decided. What about you, Clover?" Clover had moved away from the group and was sitting on one of the beds. Her whole body drooped. Junpei didn't know how she'd even heard Lotus's proposal. Lotus walked over to Clover and gently laid a hand on her shoulder. "Your brother has to be behind one of the numbered doors. We searched everywhere, but we couldn't find him." "Oh, you manipulative bitch! Oh, seriously, you utter fucking cow! Oh, for all you know, he'd be released into this area when the rest of them have gone through. What if he's behind the door without a number? Oh, you utter fucking cow. Doesn't that mean he has to have gone through one of them somehow? Clover slowly lifted her face. Let's go look for him together, okay? If we sacrifice one person, then we can go look for him. You agree with me, right? Clover nodded once. The motion carries. Lotus spun around and walked towards Junpei. Now, let's start a vote to... That won't be necessary. Ace had barely spoken for Lotus' entire speech, and everyone jumped a little. 6 pairs of eyes turned to look at him. He didn't seem to notice, or even care. I will stay. That would solve our problem, yes. Ace! What are you saying? You can't do that. That won't solve anything. June's voice shook, and she looked around desperately for someone to agree with her. Ace simply looked at her. June, I'm afraid you may misunderstood me. I said I would stay, but I never said I would sacrifice myself. Huh? I trust you, each and every one of you. I believe you'll come back for me. Whoa. There's optimistic and then there's just nuts. Those doors only go one way. You go in, you don't come out. If we go through them, you won't be able to return, correct? Yeah. True. But that may not be... But that will not be the case once you've escaped from the ship. What? Please, I beg of you, once you've escaped, come back and rescue me. Ideally within the time limit Zero has given us. No, that's ridiculous. There's no way we could get back in time. Finally, Junpei could hold his tongue no longer. We've only got 5 hours left. We don't even know where the hell we are. How on earth are we going to do find someone to come and rescue you? Then perhaps you would prefer to stay instead of me? Or perhaps you would be willing to leave June behind? Ace's voice was dignified, without a hint of cruelty or malice. Junpei had no rebuttal. You see, there's no other choice. And then I see we've come to our conclusion. Go on. Don't worry yourselves about me. Go quickly. Junpei stood frozen by indecision, unable to move. June bit her lip so hard that Junpei feared she would break the skin. Santa stood against the wall, calm and aloof. Seven tore his beanie from his head and turned it over anxiously in his hands. Clover stared at Ace with an expression Junpei was unable to decipher. Lotus's attitude, however, was different from the others. Good. Let's accept his kind offer then. She smiled, her eyes bright. Ace answered with a smile of his own. Good. I think this is the best for me. Perhaps I'll be able to take a nap. Perhaps it's my age, but I get tired so easily these days. As he spoke, Ace lowered himself down to the floor next to one of the beds. From somewhere deep in the ship, Junpei suddenly heard a screeching of metal on metal. It was almost as if the ship was screaming. Could it really hold until their time limit was up? Already D-deck was flooded. The sudden silence, the only sound was the sad metal wail of the ship. Unsurprisingly, it was Lotus who spoke first. Well, what are you waiting for? We're wasting time, why don't we hurry it up? As if a spell had been broken, the others began to talk at once. You're right, we should get going. That's all we can do right now. 7. Seriously, honestly, I was getting kind of sick of listening to you guys talk. You too, Santa? I have to find my brother. Wait, all of you? Let's just calm down and think about this. There has to be a way to get everyone out, there has to be. Right, Jumpy? Say something. Yeah, let's think. There's got to be another way. His words sounded hollow and fake. Fine. Forget about it. I'll figure it out on my own. She spun around and ran towards Ace. He had slumped down next to the bed, and June grabbed his arm and pulled. Come on, Ace. Please stand up. You can't give up yet. We just have to sit down together and think about this. We'll figure out a way that we can all get out of here. Then it happened. Ace fell forward. He slumped over onto the wooden floor, his body folded in half like a boxer out cold. Ace? June cried out and dropped to her knees beside him. She put her arm around his neck and did her best to lift him up. What happened? Ace? Say something! She shook him frantically. His eyes fluttered open. I'm all right. His voice was weak and slightly slurred. How are you fine? This. He held out his left hand and slightly opened his hand. It was a syringe in a small vial. The vial was empty. It had only recently been emptied. A few drops clung to the sides. There was a label taped to the side of the container. It read, Saporyl Beta. Saporyl Beta? Junpei had no idea what it meant, or what kind of medicine it might be. Or it could be soporific, or whatever that is, which is a tranquilizer. Did you use this? Yes. It's just anesthetic. I'll be fine. Anesthetic? I found it earlier. I was searching the hospital rooms. I thought it might be useful later. I didn't think I'd be using it on myself. Why did you do this? Didn't I tell you? I'd like to take a nap. I really am very tired. Junpei knew that wasn't why he'd done it. Ace had injected himself with an anesthetic to forestall Jun and Junpei's attempts to bring him along. If he couldn't move, there was nothing they could do. He'd injected himself so that they would be forced to leave him behind. Ace. Is there something you want to say? I'd just like to sleep a little. Could you keep it down? No. Don't, Ace, don't fall asleep. You feel warm. So comfortable. I think I'll have a nice dream. Ace's eyelids drooped further and further, almost as though he were dying. Ace! Ace! She shook his shoulder again and again. But this time he didn't respond. Only the gentle rising and falling of his chest told them he was alive. Junpei was relieved to see he was in fact still breathing. He lifted Ace up off the floor and laid him on the bed that he'd been leaning against. When Junpei turned around, Lotus gave him a look of pity. Well, we really don't have a choice now. We can't let his sacrifice go to waste. Right? She wasn't feeling any remorse, Junpei was sure of that. Still, he had no grounds on which to oppose her. It felt wrong, but he had to agree. Then suddenly Santa spoke. Yeah, but we're not done choosing yet, are we? Huh? What do you mean? Well, we haven't decided who's going in what door. Ah yes, that's very true. Well, enough of this screwing around. Let's decide. You first, Lotus. Which door do you want? I want door number 8. That's the same number as my bracelet number. Got it. You're right. You're next, 7. Which one do you want? I'll take 7. I can't get along with that old lady. What? What did you just say? Her face distorted by rage, Lotus took a step towards 7. He threw up his hands and made a face like a child caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Ugh. You're going to get it next time. She shot him a glare that would have melted steel and then turned and stalked off. Alright, who's next? Santa's gaze moved across the 3 people left. Finally, they stopped on Junpei. Junpei, which door do you want? At last, Junpei's mind was already made up. Gah!